Hi everybody. Today we are talking about the fact of how can caregivers and people who need care, who are managing their own health problems, live a good and happy life while not allowing all of the life circumstances of working with the healthcare system and the legal system and costs of care and all that get you down. Because, let's be honest, caregiving, it is so hard, whether you are the caregiver or the person who needs care, who's dealing with one health problem after another. So, what you might notice is every day you feel different. Some days you wake up feeling hopeful and happy, and other days maybe you wake up feeling stressed out, depressed, feeling anxious, feeling defeated. What I know for a fact, because I've been doing this for over 25 years, is that sometimes all you need is somebody to motivate you and give you a confidence boost so that you have the hope and the motivation and the perseverance to work through the struggles, battles, and disappointments of life. If you're a caregiver or the person managing your health, these challenges can feel overwhelming. They can be a heavy burden that bothers you day after day after day while you're trying to manage everything else in your life. So, stay with me while I share one scenario for caregivers and one scenario for people managing their health concerns, so that you can try to get ahead of these circumstances in your life that can really stop you from living a good and a happy life when you feel like every day is a struggle. If this is your first time on my channel, I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker with over 25 years of professional experience. I help adults facing health problems and their caregivers work through the health, financial, legal aspects of caregiving, including all of the difficulties of navigating family relationships. I also serve as an expert witness for law firms and their clients. You can learn more about me by visiting my website, PamelaDWilson.com. There's also a bunch of links below this video. Please do take a second, click the like button on this video, follow my channel. There's now over 900 videos here. Share the videos with other people and do comment, even if it's only to say thank you for the video or share your situation. That participation helps these videos find more people all over the world. So, number one of the most significant ways to live a good and happy life is to take control of your mind and refuse to allow circumstances, unexpected events, and people to defeat you. Now, while we all may feel defeated in the moment, or maybe even for a day or two, while we're working out our feelings, don't allow this feeling of defeat to remain with you, because it can become a pattern. It can become a thought pattern. It can become a behavior pattern. Make defeat this unwelcome guest in your life. Use defeat as a motivator to say, what can I do differently? What should I do differently? Should I be doing something else? Why didn't that thing I attempted work out like I thought it might? And what else is going on with circumstances or people or events in my life that I should look at so that I know what to do? And should I allow this person affect me as much as they do if the effect is negative and draining? The reality of life is it's not easy. Things don't always go our way, but there are times when things do go our way. The downsides, the things that don't work out, that doesn't mean that we can't find a new way or create a new path to make the healthcare system, doctors, the legal system work for us rather than against us. But to do that, we have to have a collaborative mindset. We can't be divisive. We can't say, oh, it's them versus us, even though sometimes it is them versus us, and I will get into that. So sometimes it just takes what's called fortitude to keep going. So what on earth does fortitude mean? Well, fortitude means growing the mental and the emotional strength to endure difficulty, adversity, pain, things that we don't like in our life, right? Fortitude can also be the strength to stand up for what you believe in and have the faith to believe that good will happen, right? Now, doing the right thing, or what we believe in doing the right thing, is always within what I call a context. What is right for you may not be right for me. What is right for me may not be right for somebody else. So if we think of it this way as, is doing something you believe right? Does it physically or emotionally harm another person? The answer to that, though, depends on a lot of context and a lot of background. Individual responsibility, sometimes self-interest. And if you watch my videos, you know that I try to present both sides of the story to prevent people from saying, well, it should be this way or it should be that way. Because honestly, there's no black or white. There's all this middle ground that people seem not to gravitate to. So for example, a caregiver may feel bad leaving a care situation where they're emotionally or physically or financially harmed. And the spouse or the elderly parent who's being cared for may have a lot of needs, and they may feel like the caregiver leaving is going to harm them. But here's the thing, where's the middle ground? Does it always have to be a family member taking care of a family member? No. If there are other options for the care of a sick family member, then they're not really being harmed if the caregiver stops being the caregiver, because they're leaving a situation that's harming them. And while the middle ground and all the options may not be viewed as ideal, they may be viewed as appropriate and acceptable. And then we have, looking at the situation as a result of maybe a person who didn't take care of themselves all their life, so they have all these health problems. Or they weren't responsible in saving money for their retirement or for care costs. Or sometimes it's just an unexpected accident happens, right? There are things in our lives that we can control and things that we don't. And that's what we have to look at. And in caregiving, it's not always possible to expect a family member or somebody else to take care of us forever or to save us from all of our problems. We have a lot of individual responsibility. So the number 2 idea on how to live a good and happy life and not let everything else dictate where your life goes is to, no surprise, take responsibility for your own life. But part of this is, do not be a forever caregiver or caretaker of people in your life who are not willing to learn and work to take care of themselves and be responsible for themselves. So the theme here is self-responsibility. And for caregivers especially, it's to know that there is a difference between helping someone help themselves and enabling someone to become dependent on you, to continue all of those patterns and behaviors in their lives where they neglect their health. They refuse to say, yes, I should do that. They refuse to act in ways that would better their life or help themselves to become more happy and healthy and just have a better life. And if you know this, if you're a person of faith, you know that the Bible talks about staying committed to your faith and purpose even when you're facing difficult situations. And sometimes, honestly, in these situations, all we have is our faith to get us through. We can also rely on God's grace to give us strength, to find the right path, to find the right person to help us, but we still have to help ourselves. We just can't sit around saying, oh gosh, I wish the right solution would show up or that God would save me. It doesn't work that way. And as much as we want to help somebody else, a person who also refuses to take responsibility for their own life can take advantage of the caregiver. So number 3 in all of this, set limits and boundaries. I have a lot of videos, articles, podcasts on this topic here on my YouTube channel and on my website, PamelaDWilson.com. Here's the thing, if a situation is draining or exhausting you, ask yourself, what's going on? Why is this happening? Why am I allowing this to happen? Am I allowing other people to take advantage of me? If my physical health and my emotional health and my financial well-being and my family are suffering, should I even be doing this? Is this the right path? Only you can answer that question for you. Number 4, don't spend time with harmful people, with negative people, with people who seek to divide instead of bringing people together. People who have malicious intent. Some of these people might be your family members or your friends. Now, it is perfectly okay to disagree with people. And it's even better to say, well, gosh, I disagree with you on that. Can you give me your viewpoint and why you believe differently? That's the way we work out our differences. I had a caregiver the other day who commented on one of my videos here on YouTube, and she said, I disagree with you on that. And my response was, well, that's okay, you can disagree, but I said, I would suspect that there's probably a lot of other things that we agree on. So what you have to figure out is, if your family members are so harmful and they're negative and they seek to divide and they're really not willing to come into the middle to say, how can we work together? How can we make this work? How can we improve the situation? Then you really have to decide, do you really want to spend time with these people and be like these people who are not flexible or open-minded or maybe even willing to help themselves? And some family members are like, oh, we got to figure this out. Well, it's not really up to you to figure out why they do what they do or what event in their life caused them to do what they do. It is, in a sense, your responsibility to say, hey, help me understand why you think that way. Or, is there some common ground we have here? And if you really find out that you can't get along, just bless them, move on to a happier life, be an example for other people, be kind. The kindness of a single person can make a huge difference. A kind word, just saying a kind word to somebody else who's having a bad day can make all the difference. So in your caregiving self-journey, be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Have compassion. Forgive others even though you don't understand their behaviors, and move on if you cannot work things out with them. These behaviors can be things like an elderly parent who just refuses care. No matter what you do, they're like, I'm not doing that. I don't want this. I don't want to do it. Let them live with their choices and their consequences. You might have siblings who refuse to help you care for an elderly parent. Find out what their reasons are. Accept their reasons even if you don't like them and just move on. Then you may have siblings who seek to divide and create bitterness within the family between your parents and your siblings, or you may have the opposite. You may have a parent who creates a lot of divisiveness and conflict between you and your siblings. Only you can stop that. You can say, we're not having this conversation. I don't want to talk to you if my other sibling's not here. This is not going in the right direction. In my opinion, divisiveness in any situation is not helpful. And there are a lot of people who seek to divide. So, while you can love these individuals, you don't have to remain in relationships with them if they're causing you harm or emotional or physical damage, or if they're threatening to you. Because like I mentioned, it's not always possible to figure out what happened in your family with, your parents' relationship with their grandparents and all of this. All you can do is focus on today and tomorrow and forgive the past. And also, with yourself, notice habits that you may have that might be harmful to other people that maybe you need to consider making a change. So how do you move ahead with all of these struggles when they're just getting you down and dragging you down and exhausting you? Well, the way that you think and you react on these days when nothing seems to go right, when everything is like one more struggle, one more battle, or you experience a disappointment because you were hoping for good news, and your mood and your attitude and everything are just shot. Know that your thoughts lead you to feeling confident in your actions and your behaviors, or to doubt yourself and feel hopeless and like nothing is ever going to work out. So it's important to have a tool or a process that you go through to help you recover from these setbacks and losses and disappointments, so that you can look at these as learning opportunities to create positive change in your life rather than being dragged down into negativity or an unhappy place. The hard part for caregivers and people with health problems is that a lot of times you do feel like you're fighting the system, and that can feel like a losing battle. So refusing to be in a position of defeat gives you more control and power over your situation. And honestly, you have way more control than you would ever believe, which I know can be super hard to see when it can seem that one thing after another keeps happening and you're having difficulty coping because it's like, the next thing and the next thing and You have to refuse to allow these circumstances to defeat you. And the way you do that is, in your life, look at the 3 most difficult things that you're dealing with. And if you can, get very clear on why they're happening. Because sometimes we don't see the why. We don't recognize like, I do A and B happens, right? We don't see the cause and the effect. So pick 3, figure out what's going on, and then choose which one you want to tackle first. So let's say, for example, you have a family caregiving situation, and it's difficult because of difficult or divisive or oppositional personalities. Not everybody's good at conflict resolution. Not everybody even wants to engage in conflict with people, right? Makes us feel uncomfortable. We're like, why should I have to deal with that? Why can't people just be nice and get together and get along? Well, that's just not life, right? So this lack of skills or confidence to deal with conflict can make it difficult for people to say what you think in a kind way or to stand up to a spouse or an aging parent or a sibling who might be causing problems in your family. So you seek to have these conversations and understand the opposite perspective. Confront the issue or the problem. Depersonalize the issue. So you're not blaming anybody. This is what's happening. This is the fact. This is the situation. How do we solve it? The challenge is people may have different ideas on how to solve things because, again, what I think might be a good idea, you might think be a terrible idea, or a sense of right and wrong can be very different. So if you can look at the situation and write it down on paper and be logical and come up with maybe 2 or 3 possible solutions, and then think through the solutions and the actions that you would take to solve them. And then maybe pick one that everybody agrees to try. And if that doesn't work out, then maybe you have 2 or 3. But you also, through this process, have to realize that you may not be able to change another person's health habits or even just their general behaviors or their thoughts. And so as you go through this, what you may realize is this is not a situation that you can be involved in because it's harming you. Or what you may say is, well, I can be involved, but only to this degree. And that's okay. If you're a caregiver, you don't have to be the sole caregiver. You don't have to be the only caregiver in your family. You don't have to be the caregiver at all as long as there are other options, right, that provide a solution. So another example, which is way more complicated, is working with what I call systems, healthcare systems, hospitals, nursing homes, doctors' offices, physical therapy, occupational therapy, assisted living, communities, rehabs, all of that. And then the other system is the legal system, because many of these systems are government regulated. They have guidelines, they have rules, regulations, red tape, processes, protocols, all of this stuff that most consumers and most patients we don't understand it unless we're working in those systems, right? And it can feel, in a sense, like you are under the control of all of these people and under the control of the government. And in some ways, we all are. In some ways, it's good, some ways not so good. So in these situations, as a caregiver or a person who has health problems, you may have to be very creative to solve your problems. And you may have to say, okay, I see that these regulations exist. Can you explain to me why these exist or why this process exists? So again, you're looking to understand an opposite perspective that you may not agree with. And until you understand the other perspective, you may not understand what's going on. And when you learn it, you might be surprised to say, well, that makes perfect logic. But even though it's logical, what can I do if I disagree? Can I change doctors? Can I look at another health plan or alternate health care or alternate options? Is there a way still to get the care that I feel that I need or the care that my parent needs or somebody else needs? Is there something that I don't know that my doctor doesn't know, or this nurse doesn't know that I talked to that might be a better solution. Because what you're really trying to do is, how do you get the system to work for you rather than against you, so that you don't feel like it's a we versus them or us versus they situation, because those go nowhere. They're not going to solve a problem. It's only going to cause you more distress. And I know this because I have 25 years of experience working with the healthcare system and the legal system and the financial system and guardianship and conservatorship and elder abuse and all of that. It's not been easy. And here's part of the issue. So we as consumers live under a different standard. Government employees, your congresspeople, your representatives, when it comes to healthcare, they have government health insurance, right? It's way better than anything that a consumer has. They don't face the same struggles that you and I face with insurance companies and trying to get pre-approvals and doctors following up and all that kind of stuff. So while they say that they advocate for us, do they really? When they don't live under the same standards and guidelines and experience the same problems. So the only way that we as consumers are going to change the system is to learn how the system works and to push those concerns up to the government to say, look, it's time that you guys do something about this. Or you need to come live under our standards and then see what you would do about this. The same applies to the probate system, where guardianship and conservatorship comes underneath. And while the probate system is supposed to work for the people, and that what they tell you is, and I know this from personal experience, if you're a family member, they can't give you legal advice. Yet your tax dollars are paying them to work. You're paying their job. You're paying the judges. You're paying the county attorneys. You're paying the city attorneys, who are all working for the legal system paid by your tax dollars. But sometimes innocent family members get involved in these issues, and they may be accused of elder abuse, or maybe they're trying to advocate against another family member who's abusing their parent. And the court system says, oh, we can't give you legal advice. But yet their family member has the money to hire an attorney, so it's lopsided, or there's an attorney appointed for a person who's under guardianship and conservatorship. That attorney's not really doing their jobs. I mean, honestly, I can say it's a mess out there for some people. These systems don't always work for the people. And not everybody always works together. It's a mindset, right? And so, in a sense, people get swept up into divisive systems, which means that you have to become the collaborator. You have to become the better person. You have to become the smarter person. You have to become the more practical person to bring other people together to help you. And honestly, to do this, it can be time-consuming. Investigating options can take a long time. You may have to talk to a lot of people. Sometimes you consult with an expert like myself who's worked through some of these issues before, and I can give you some guidance. But sometimes it takes problem solving with a lot of other people and finding somebody who's willing to help you, right? And so the way that you present the problem or the information to other people, that can make a difference, because if you're divisive, if you're angry, they're not going to want to help you. You want to be the person who's looking for a solution and who wants to collaborate and who wants other people to help you. And you might really find that you can learn a lot going through the process of research and investigating information and talking to other people and what's worked for them and what's not worked for them. And through this, you can get really good at creative problem solving to solve whatever issue it is that you face. Because sometimes, honestly, a health diagnosis is thrown out there, and it may seem like this is the only option, or a treatment protocol is thrown out there, and it may seem like this is the only option, but there's probably other options out there that maybe the person that you're talking to doesn't know about, but maybe somebody else does. So my recommendation through all of this to find ways to live a good life and manage through all the craziness and the control that other people seem to have over us is to be inquisitive and persistent. Ask a lot of questions. Build up that fortitude so that you have the ability and the mindset to just keep going. That is just one path to leave troubles behind and to live a happier and a healthier life by not allowing all these circumstances to get you down. And sometimes I will admit, an obstacle, a problem that forces you to make a change. That change can be such a blessing. But when you're going through it, man, you cannot see that at all. It seems like just a horrible, horrible problem, and you're going through all these struggles. But then you get to the other side, and it's like, wow, that was a blessing in disguise. That was a good thing. I will say that blessings are everywhere in our lives, sometimes disguised as challenges or problems. Don't give up. Don't let the circumstances of your life weigh you down or drag you down. Don't accept just that things are the way that they are, because they don't have to be that way. Do your research. Investigate your options. Be open-minded. Bring people who disagree together. Be flexible. Ask for help. There is a way to solve whatever problem you're facing and to make a better life. I thank you all so much for being here. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. Please go to my website, PamelaDWilson.com. There is so much free help there. Online courses, my blog, my podcast, links to videos, articles in my caregiving library, solutions, ways to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me, so much help. Also, please do like this video, follow my YouTube channel, share these videos with other people you know who are looking for hope, help, and support, and please do comment below. Even just a thank you helps these videos find other people who are looking for similar advice and support.